Hello, welcome to another pedal hour video. So today, quite a special day. First electric vehicle on the channel, the Renault Zoe. We're going to ask some questions from the petrolhead version of me, thank you, to see what it's like and whether we can actually use this as possible second-hand alternative to the current petrol-powered fleet, whether it makes a good buy, all things considered, whether you should actually make that switch now to a second-hand 2015 Renault Zoe. Before you watch this video, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel where you'll see loads more car-related videos and alternative means of transport. Feel free also to give it a thumbs up. If you want me to video your car, email me. Follow me on Instagram as well. There's all sorts of car-related content, my cars, other cars and things, cool stuff like that. What's it like to drive? What's it like to drive? Let's find out. The first thing you'll notice, well, first of all, it's silent. But the first thing you'll notice is it's still a normal car. You hear a lot about EVs, and I must admit, you sort of think, oh, it's really got to be like a spaceship, and actually, it's kind of not. It's got a very solid, very normal looking, very normal feeling gear lever. Automatic, obviously, electric car, but it feels like a normal, solid, clunky automatic gear lever. And I was sort of expecting, I don't know, some nice sort of electrical type buttons, but it's not. It's very mechanical. This car feels, unsurprisingly, I suppose, driving it at low speeds, feels very solid, very like a normal car. Here we go. Let's test that. So, although the 0 to 60 time is only 13.5 seconds, going from 0 to 30, it feels sharp, it feels quick. It doesn't feel particularly, completely, totally and utterly quiet, if I'm honest. It doesn't feel like you're in something super silent. It feels just like a normal car. More like a normal car than I was expecting, actually. I was kind of expecting it to sound quieter, I suppose, than it actually does. Don't get me wrong, it is quiet, but I've been in petrol and diesel power cars that are also arguably quite quiet now. Driving position, the seats are very firm, you've kind of got long backs, they're sort of okay. You are extremely high up, I suppose you are in most modern super minis these days. Obviously this is an EV, the batteries are on the floor, so that naturally kind of raises your driving position, which, depending on your point of view, it's not a sports car, it's a super mini, so don't expect to be sat low down on the ground. Well, you wouldn't be, would you? So there's no great shakes there. It's very comfortable, it feels very easy to drive. It feels less like an electric vehicle than I thought it would, and a lot more like a car, actually. The steering feels very, again, very weighted, very petrol car-like almost. It's very easy to get used to, very easy to drive. There's no, when you put your foot down, you can feel sort of torque. You can tell there's not an engine revving, put it that way. Renault Zoe comes with regenerative braking, which means as you sort of back off that accelerator, it kind of does more stuff to put, I think, a little bit more power in the battery, which is quite clever. And you don't really notice it, actually. I thought, from everything I'd read about this car, the regenerative braking system, I thought I'd feel it more than I am doing. Honestly, initial first impressions driving it around, I don't want to say I'm underwhelmed. I was hoping it would feel a little bit more special than it is doing. This is my first time driving an electric vehicle on the roads, other than the skateboard. See my other video for that. The pickup is nice. You definitely feel the pickup is different from a petrol engine car, but not massively different. It doesn't feel like it's going to run away with you. What does it sound like? To answer your question, what does the Renault Zoe sound like? The answer is very, very quiet. It has electric windows, obviously. But there is this button here where you can turn sounds on, and if you press and hold it, can you hear that? It sounds like panpipes, but there's nothing on the dash to say which one's been selected. Oh, it's like being in church. So I think you sort of cycle through them, but I can't see anything on the dash that would indicate that. What does it sound like? It sounds quiet or non-existent, or it can sound like electric panpipes, 3 different types. How quick is it in eco mode? Foot to the floor, let's go. 50 miles an hour, and I can feel not only the noises I explained earlier, but a bit of kind of cabin wind noise in here as well now. I wouldn't like to be, as fast as I've gone then, 50 miles an hour, I wouldn't like to be going 70 miles an hour in this car for too long, I don't think. Zoom makes a noise when you slow down. Zoom. How much does it cost? So cost-wise then, this 2015 is one of the first Renault Zoes. It's now got 26,000 miles, it's 5 years old, it's got one of the first smaller batteries in terms of kilowatt hours, so the range isn't massive, let's put it that way. It's showing 64 miles range and it's about 80% charged at the moment. People who bought early Renault Zoes leased the batteries. So Renault sold you the car, leased the batteries. You didn't actually own the batteries. I think most new Renault Zoes that get sold, I believe, come with the battery included. It does make a difference because it means sort of prices look a bit all over the place. You have to sort of factor that in. Generally speaking, Renault Zoes with owned batteries, there were more of them after sort of 2016, cost about £3,000 more. They tend to have higher mileage because when you lease the battery, there's sort of mileage restrictions to some extent. The ones with the batteries that have been owned tend to have fewer owners, so that could be interpreted as people keeping hold of them because they really like them, or maybe that they hang around a bit more and they're a bit more difficult to sell on. You should bear that in mind actually. That £3,000 extra on the purchase price, especially on a used car, this one probably costs between £7,000 and £8,000. When you're paying your battery lease, which is £49 a month, this is all UK pounds, it's probably, depending on how long you're going to keep it, which let's face it, it's probably about 2 years or so. From what I can gather, most people seem to keep the Renault Zoe, the initial owners, the first owners who buy them new, 3 to 4 years, which makes sense with finance deals and things like that. Then the second owners tend to, again from the data looking at it, keep them only for a couple of years. And I suspect these are the sorts of people who are like the owner of this car actually, are sort of experimenting with EVs and seeing what they're like and seeing whether they're convinced or not. And then I guess they're going one way or the other, whether they buy a slightly newer with higher range EV or whether they go back to petrol. The other thing with the battery lease thing is it stays with the car, so when you see them for sale, any sort of dealer will tell you whether the battery is owned as part of the car, whether you're buying the car with the battery included, or whether it's leased. The benefit of lease is also, as you don't own it, if it does deplete, and there aren't many horror stories about them depleting, but Renault will just hopefully come along and replace it quite simply. Road tax on the Zoe is, I think it's pretty much zero. Model wise, your choices around the 2015 model year were the Expression, which was a bit of a base spec model, the Dynamique Zen, and the Dynamique Intens, or Intense. This is the Intens. It basically means a darker interior. I think you get darker steering wheel, darker dash, darker seats. The Zen is a much more lighter place. And it says a lot about us as a nation, where in the UK, probably in those early years, 80% of the models that were sold were in fact Intens. So despite this being an electric vehicle and all kind of chilled out, mellow, environmental type vibe, most people went for the Intens model, but that's just the British. Another thing that I found out whilst researching the Renault Zoe, which shocked me a little bit, was as things improve with regards to battery technology and any electrical technology in general really, it is possible to replace the batteries in this car with a higher capacity one from a newer model and increase the range. Now at the beginning, I say in the beginning, around 2016, 2017, from what I can gather, Renault used to offer this as an option. So if you've got a 2015 model car with its limited 100 mile or so range, you could go in, upgrade it to the later, I think it's around 55 kilowatt hour battery. All of a sudden you've boosted your range maybe up to nearly a couple of 100 miles. That is a huge improvement to your car. However, Renault soon cottoned onto this and realised that people would do that as opposed to buying a new version of their car. So you buy into an EV for environmental reasons, and then you're buying it from a company that isn't really doing it for environmental reasons. Obviously they're a business, they're doing it to make money, and that to me really takes the shine off this whole EV concept a little bit, which is, I don't know, it's kind of a shame. Motors wise, they are, what do you call them, motors? It's an electric motor, they're obviously not engines. Early ones came with the ability for rapid charge actually, and they call it the Q210, but it wasn't massively efficient, so they adopted another engine. I think Renault made the next one themselves, and they call it the R240. That one doesn't have rapid charge, but it is a bit more efficient and apparently gives a little bit more range. So battery wise is measured in kilowatt hours, and it's basically how long that battery will last and when being used. So in terms of an electric car, that's obviously how much range you will get. This is an early one, 2015. It came with a 22 kilowatt hour battery. Renault have subsequently upgraded it to a 41 kilowatt hour battery around 2016, 2017, I think. And then in 2019, it's gone up to a 55 kilowatt hour battery. That range thing is the whole big reason why petrolhead me probably doesn't like electric vehicles. 95% of your journeys are super short, so why do you need to go in the garage or when you drive, turn the key, start up an internal combustion engine, burning all of that precious fossil fuel, when you can just go out, unplug your car and just zoom. If you're new to electric cars, there's a lot of range anxiety. You hear that term a lot. There are, however, I've discovered a lot of apps. One of them is called Zap Map app, which allows you to plan better routes for your car, so you can actually key in the model, make and model of your car, so it roughly knows the range of your car, and it will provide you with details of a journey where there's suitable charge points throughout that journey. How quick is it? How quick is it? This is an absolute top petrolhead question. Not as quick as you think is the answer. It's got a top speed of 84 miles an hour, which admittedly is 40 miles over the UK national speed limit, and a 0 to 60 time, which quite shocked me, this one, of 13.5 seconds. It does weigh 1,400 and I think 68 kilograms. It's about 1,500 kilograms, essentially, probably with me sat in it. You hear this a lot. It's a small super mini type car, but the batteries do weigh a lot. I think on their own, they're kind of nearly 300 kilos. How easy is it to recharge? How easy is it to charge? Well, the owner of this car, who I've borrowed this car off today, doesn't have any charger kit at home. They haven't had one of the government subsidised charge points put in, which is, I think, they work it out as they put you on a 32 amp fuse from your main box, basically electric box, and it means you get a slightly quicker charge than you would do through a normal 3-pin plug. It uses the common type 2 pin charger, which seems to be fairly common in Europe. You can get kind of a CCS bit, which is like 2 or 3 plugs below it. In the later Renault Zoes, I believe, that means you can get much quicker, more rapid charge into it. How practical is it? How practical is it? Oh God, I hate that question. It's a 5-door car with the boot. Apparently it can sit 5 adults in it. So 3 in the back. It does look a bit cramped in there. You do feel like you've got a reasonable amount of space in here, I guess because the battery's further down, but it does still feel very much like a big normal solid car. Boot space, it's a super mini boot. It's pretty much standard. It's 338 litres in size. That compares to the equivalent Clio, which is about 300 litres. So it's probably got a bit more space than a Clio. How much power does it have? Power, if you're talking power, and a lot of people sort of measure electric cars by power, this has got 89 PS, which is the sort of metric equivalent of brake horsepower. The later, newer ones, I think, have about 130 brake horsepower, so they'll no doubt feel a little bit quicker and sharper off the line. Tell us something we don't know about the Renault Zoe. Things you didn't know about the Zoe. The name derives from those 2 letters Z and E, and they stuck an O in the middle. The Z and E originally stood for zero emissions. Can you have fun in an electric vehicle? So, all the time I've been driving around in this car, I've been in eco mode. Now I've just turned it off. So let's answer the question, can you have fun in an electric vehicle super mini Renault Zoe? We're on a national restriction road. 26 miles an hour, and we're going to put foot to the floor. Let's go. 26. Alright, it's not tearing my face off. It's doing what it needs to do, which is get up to speed very, very quietly. That's the big difference, I suppose. One thing I didn't mention earlier, although this car isn't that much quieter, when you're making progress and you're putting your foot down and getting on with it, whereas in a petrol or diesel car, that engine noise, you would hear it a lot more. In this car, you don't really hear it. And I quite like that, actually. Wait. It's a bit like being in a giant dodging car on the fairground. Here we are, some country lanes. Let's see if it can grip the road. Oh, it handles. It's very compliant. It feels very assured. It feels very, very planted. It doesn't feel like a heavy front-wheel drive car. Woof! That initial woof! Can it go around the corner? Yeah, it certainly feels nippy. Buy a Renault Zoe. Don't turn off the eco and pull the button out, or write something on it to disincentivize anybody else from turning it on. Would you buy one though? As a dyed-in-the-wool petrol head, would I consider swapping any of my current petrol-powered fleet for an electric vehicle, more specifically an £8,000 Renault Zoe? And the answer to that question is no. That's quite simply the answer. I'm not totally against electric vehicles. I'm quite excited for the future of electric vehicles, actually, but I'm more of a sports car, SUV, estate car type person. So as soon, and arguably they're kind of there with Tesla, as soon as the prices come down, still a little bit early for me, as soon as the range is super good, and don't get me wrong, I think things are super good, but I'm still waiting for that price point to come down. As soon as they make more models that appeal to my inner petrol head desires, and what I mean by that is ones that are more than just super minis, which is what this car essentially is, and appeal more to the driver in me, then I think I'll be ready to convert. I will go and get that electric charge point installed in my home. Thanks for watching this pedal out video, this very first electric car. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Please also write in the comments what you thought of this video, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram. See you again next time.